and it was getting some foothold. And so there was an idea from the United States to try to stop the spread of communism. So there was some fighting, and it became a big war. Little place, but a big war. And the U.S. wanted soldiers to fight in the war. And, on campuses in America, it was, demonstrations against the war in Vietnam. It was a big thing, big anti-war. Anyway, protests and demonstrations and this and that. So in the midst of all of that, lo and behold, I'm off at college, and my parents received letters from the United States Army, a conscription law saying, you are now classified as 1A, you're supposed to show up at U.S. Army office, get a uniform, get on an airplane, and go to Vietnam and fight this stupid war. And I thought the war was stupid. Taking somebody out of medical school training to go fight a stupid war was double stupid. So I didn't respond. Just like my parents insisted, you got to do something. You'll be in jail, you got to do something. So I started asking, what do you do when you get the draft notice in the mail? And I was told, well, one thing you can do is there's a conscientious objector form that the United States government produces. You get a conscientious objector form, fill it out, and you get an A in your exam, and you're exempt from the draft. So I know how to get A's in exams. It's really simple. You know what the person grading the exam wants, you put that in the answer box, and you get an A in your exam. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Want me to eat the microphone? It's not loud enough? Now it's too loud. Too loud? Better? Okay. So I got a conscientious objector form. It has several pages. I couldn't get past the first question. The first question says, state the nature of your belief, your convictions, such that you cannot take part in the armed forces of the United States of America. Deanless student, not to get A's in exams. So I started to answer the question, so I'd get an A in the exam. But the pen wouldn't move because I got stuck. Yes, I can get an A in the exam, but I don't know what my convictions are. Honestly, I mean, within myself. I know how to get A's in exams, but I don't know who I am and what my convictions are. It was a very powerful shock. I was like, I'm part of a system that teaches me how to get A's in exams, but not who am I and what my convictions are, and then 100 other questions after that question. So I did a timeout. And I looked inside. There was this exercise with looking, what's inside? And part of what was inside is, what's outside is not the ultimate reality by any means. There is an ultimate reality. Three things. There's an ultimate reality. I know that I don't know. and I want to know. That's it. So I'm assuming everyone here, you may not be in the same space I was in, but you're here because those three things are there within you. There's a higher reality. You know that you don't know and you want to know. That's all you have to do. Have that your qualification you bring, and then you hear. So Prahlad is asking for the association of those persons who, in their association, I can become purified from the covering that keep me from knowing that higher reality, and following them across the ocean of material nescience. That's the teaching of Prahlad. That's the principle that Prabhupada liked so much and dedicated himself so much to do, to give to the world. And we're on the receiving end. And the more that you are on the receiving end, you become qualified to be on the giving end, because then you have something to give. It's part of the responsibility of receiving is to give. And that's what our founder Acharya did. He received and he gave abundantly. Attachment, Prabhupada's purport for this verse. Attachment to glorifying the Lord by hearing and chanting the holy name and activities of the Lord certainly brings one to the position where material contamination is absent. The bottom left, that's the material contamination position. Over on the right is people that are hearing transcendental messages, and the transcendental messages are about the personality of Godhead. So it's a very nice, very simple illustration of this message. Accepting the thoughts of exalted authorities through disciplic succession is certainly much easier than the method of mental speculation, by which one tries to invent some means to understand the absolute truth. The best process is to accept the instructions of the previous acharyas and follow them. Then God realization and self-realization become extremely easy. Now this is a photograph of Srila Prabhupada in New York, because many, many, many years I spent in New York before I became a sannyasi and started traveling a whole bunch. I mean, even as a brahmachari, book distribution, traveling in a van all over the country and so forth. But anyway, this is Srila Prabhupada sitting in a rocking chair, and on the left, the part that you don't see, there's a theater group performing a drama, and all the devotees are watching Prabhupada watching the drama, and Prabhupada has a nice smile and he's enjoying the drama. And that little fellow, that's me, sitting somewhere. The younger version. And with a shaved head too. But I have hair because I came to Singapore. I used to come with a hat, but then he'd make me take my hat off when coming through immigration. So I just decided I'll just do this. So this is the method of purification being described by our founder Acharya, and he displayed it abundantly. Gave and gave and gave and gave and gave his association. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes his commentary. Though you attain service to me, still you should seek out some other solution for the miseries of material life. Prahlad reveals some anger and pride. Your pure devotee is famous as a servant of Narada. I, Prahlad, do not accept jnana or karma like others, even in my dreams. Chanting your pastimes, I surpass the gunas. If I have surpassed the gunas. What is the question of so-called suffering, or the solution for suffering? The Lord Nrsingadev may reply, but one sees suffering in devotees also, or a doubter may say, I will quickly, completely cross over the pain of separation from you, attaining direct service to you will not be delayed long because of the misery from mercy, from chanting about you. I will associate with your associates, whose abodes are the lotuses of your lotus feet, and they will bring me to you. Brahma has also glorified you. Since these topics are authorized by him, there is definite value for anyone in chanting your glories. You are the master of the devotees, having Madhurya Rasa, Sakya Rasa, and Dasya Rasa, like me. So Vishwanath is a Rasika Bhakta. He enjoys giving very tasty presentations on these topics. Last verse for this evening. Bala Shaneha Sharanam Pitarao Nrsimha. My dear Lord Nrsingadev, O Supreme, because of a bodily conception of life, embodied souls, neglected and not cared for by you, cannot do anything for their betterment. Whatever remedies they accept, although perhaps temporary beneficial, are certainly impermanent. So before he's saying the miseries, the solution to miseries are greater miseries. And then whatever the solution is, here it's impermanent. Prabhupada's comment, for example, a father and mother cannot protect their child. Or a physician and medicine cannot relieve a suffering patient. Or a boat on the ocean cannot protect a drowning man. Ultimately, shelter is the Lord, and one who takes shelter of the Lord is protected. These are Prahlad in the different ways Hiranyakashipu tried to kill him. This is guaranteed, as the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Koteya Pratijanihi Name Bhakta Pranashyati. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. So it's not, the question was, what about, is there suffering for devotees? There's impermanent transient suffering, but the greater suffering is separation. The real suffering is separation. Pain of separation. There's a nice, because we've just, all around the world, I don't know what's happened here in Singapore, but all around the world there have been some function in honor of the departure of Gopal Krishna Maharaj. There's all kinds of little videos and statements people have made in honor of such a person. One of the things that I appreciate is, according, some of you know who is Lord Chaitanya. Some of you are not familiar yet so much with who is Lord Chaitanya. But Lord Chaitanya met with a very learned governor of Chennai called Ramananda Roy. And Lord Chaitanya was taking the position of the subordinate and asking Ramananda Roy to answer his questions. It was a loving exchange, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a sannyasi, and Ramananda Roy was a grihastha and a government man. But he's looking up to Ramananda Roy, helping him give all the right answers. So he asked twice. He asked Ramananda Roy, what's suffering? Real suffering is separation from a Vaishnava. I know of no other suffering than separation from a Vaishnava. Because there's material suffering, but material suffering is temporary and transient. And the solution to material suffering is likewise. So real suffering is separation from the devotee. And a great Vaishnava has recently departed the world and the leadership for us. Many, so many accomplishments he achieved, being empowered to do so by Krishna and the disciplic succession. So most of us are not so capable like Gopal Krishna Maharaj was. But each of us can do something. We're meant to do something according to our capacity. Just this morning I made a little recording for the devotees in America on Gopal Krishna Maharaj. I remember meeting him 1970, summer of 1970. It's a few years ago. And he was a Grahastha. He lived in Montreal. He was visiting in New York because Prabhupada was visiting in New York. And he came, and I didn't know who he was. He wasn't a big person at all. He was Grahastha with a job and, a faithful follower of Prabhupada is a Grahastha. Like, some of you assembled here. Not kind of obscure. Not a prominent leader. But in the course of time, because of his very strong dedication to serving Prabhupada according to his capacity and his means, and slowly, the capacity to do more than he was doing the day before, and more than he was doing the day after that, his bhakti shakti grew. And he did amazing things. So each of us are meant to do something more than what we're doing yesterday or even today in the course of time by being empowered. And that's, from what I've heard, those devotees that are making these glorifications of Gopal Krishna Maharaj are reminding the audience, you have to carry the baton. You have to become the leaders to carry the Hare Krishna movement forward, because great leaders are disappearing one by one, and the disciples of Prabhupada who are leading the organization and have been for some few decades are one by one, just by force of time, going to be taken from our association. And then what? What's left? Look around. That's what's left. The mission is the same, the opportunity is the same, the responsibility is the same. And then what are you going to do about it? So this is just on line with what Prahlad is saying. While you have the opportunity, take that association. Certainly in Prabhupada's books, he lives forever in his books. So take his associations with his Vani. And the power is there. Empowerment for one who's carrying, I want to know, I want to be connected to that source of everything that I know that I don't know what it is. And the means to accomplish that is provided purposefully by, of course, Vyasadeva and Shukadeva Goswami, and then the disciplic succession and given to all of us. So read Prabhupada's book carefully, take shelter, and then apply it as best you can. So let's see if there's some discussion. It's now 18 minutes before 8 o'clock. What time you're going to pull the plug? 10 minutes. Okay. My experience is the first question takes longest. And then once the first question is taken, they start to flow. Go ahead.
So in verse 7, 9, 18, verse number 7, 9, 18, it's mentioned that I shall become completely uncontaminated by association of three modes of matter nature. I'm just trying to understand what Maharaj, how by association of three modes I can become more uncontaminated.
Let me go back to the verse, and so we can see it on the screen up here. The grammar may be misleading, but it's not by the association of the modes of material nature shall become free from the association of modes of material nature. I mean, the editing says that, but it's by associating with the devotees who are liberated souls. By that, I can become free from the modes of material nature. Is that all right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
You emphasize about association, but often sometimes we become frivolous or we take it
Become frivolous, or
when associating with devotees.
you become frivolous.
Yeah, sometimes we don't take the opportunity of
Yeah.
associating. How do we take association in a more genuine way where we get inspired with discuss Krishna Katha? Because often we just think association is just spending some time with the devotee around.
Okay.
So how do we genuinely maximize?
Okay. I'm waiting for just let the thoughts settle a little bit. We're conditioned souls. Most, I mean, there may be some liberated souls in the room here, but the rest of us are conditioned souls. And the conditioned soul sees through a lens of conditioning. That which is spiritual, we don't necessarily see it as what it really is. We see it through the lens of conditioning. According to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or Nectar of Devotion, there are 64 items or activities of devotion that can bring us closer to Krishna. 5 of those 64 things, they're so powerful that if you do any one of those 5 without offense, then instantly you can experience Bhava Bhakti. At once, Bhava Bhakti arises. So the problem is, we make offense. And one of the offenses is that we consider that which is fully spiritual to be not fully spiritual. So those 5, one of the 5, one of them is Vaishnav Seva. The 5 activities that, if done without offense, instantly can give rise to Bhava stage of Bhakti. The Srimad Bhagavatam, the holy name, the deity form of the Lord, living in a holy place like Vrindavan, and serving the Vaishnavas. The problem, and all of those are completely pure, but we see them as not completely pure. And therefore, in the not completely pure state, there are 2 factors that are recommended to enable us to understand that which is pure is pure. The 2 factors, you can look it up. I encourage you to look it up later. Nectar of Instruction, text number 7, is a description of sadhana bhakti that can carry one to the stage of perfection. It has the same principle as Vaishnava Seva, or association, Sadhu Sangha, Vaishnava Sangha. That which is fully spiritual, blessed by Krishna, fully spiritual, may not be seen as fully spiritual. And in this particular verse, text 7, is the chanting of the holy name. So there are two standards that Rupa Goswami gives. One, adara. We mentioned this at the temple. To respect, adara. It's kind of like the English word adore, adara. But you respect that which is above you, or much, much, much higher. And, let's say culturally, respect is given to elderly, to your superiors. That's just a cultural. But the transcendental is that which is fully transcendental, like the holy name. Offer all respect, take shelter of the holy name, because it's pure. And to do that, practice that, sadhana, regularly, audinam. So saying, when you have devotee association, it can be, certainly we want to make friends with devotees, but when we're making friends with the devotees, it shouldn't become casual or every day. Because just like doing what we're doing right now, hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, the words of Prahlad, that according to what Prabhupada wrote, the way of pure bhakti can be achieved, the entrance into the spiritual world can be achieved just by hearing properly the instructions of Prahlad Maharaj, hearing the verses and the explanations of these verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. The same with chanting the holy name, same with the deity form of the Lord, same with living in the holy dham, and same with Vaishnava Seva. So my response to your question is, we have to have a proper understanding of what Vaishnava and Vaishnava Seva is. And then we can have the due respect for the association of devotees. You have friends and have loving exchanges and the pleasantries, social pleasantries, but it's not business as usual, not just casual friend. It's in the same category as these other four: the deity form of the Lord, the holy name, Srimad Bhagavatam, and the holy dham is association with devotees and service to the devotees. It's fully transcendental. I'll say one more thing. One more thing is, there's a lot of instruction. There's a lot in Scripture about how to chant the holy name, because that's the gift of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Scripture has a lot to say about it. One of the scriptures that has a lot to say about it is Hari Bhakti Vilas. Hari Bhakti Vilas is a text or a manual written by Sanatana Goswami and assisted by Gopal Bhatta Goswami to explain. It's a how-to manual. So how to chant the holy name where it's not casual. It's a similar principle. How to associate with devotees where it's not casual. And casual means that there can be offenses. Unintentional, but it can be offenses. Too casual, not without due respect. So to have that proper respect for the holy name, there's 6 items that Sanatana Goswami presents, and one of those 6 items is to understand the meaning and purpose of the name. It's one of 6. And then you can have proper respect if you understand what the holy name is. In Shikshastaka, verses 1 and 2, the glories of, starting with verse 1, the potency of the holy name, the power, the glories of the holy name are enunciated, 7 in number. And then in Shikshashtaka 2, although I understand all these things about the holy name, somehow I don't have a taste. So along with understanding the importance of this transcendental importance of Vaishnava Sangha, it's being very, very careful to have proper regard and respect. Trinadapi Sunicha, that's Shikshashtaka 3. Trinadapi Sunicha, no? 4 things. Turo Eva Sahushnana, Amanina Manadena, Kirtaniya Sadhari, the 4 things. And so because of time, I'm not going to elaborate on those, what those 4 are. You can look it up. Text 3, Shikshashtaka. We just heard that Prahlad Maharaj exemplified Shikshashtaka 3. You get the personification of how to have proper regard and not casual regard for association devotees or the name or the deity or Srimad Bhagavatam or the Holy Name. Because you make offenses in any one of those 5 and your bhakti isn't going to progress very well. You'll have a problem. Spiritual problem. So back to your question. How do we overcome complacency or casual dealings so we get the full benefit? It's to understand, hear from scripture and proper authority what is the weight and the gravity and the transcendental nature of a thing, an object, in this case, Vaishnava Sangha, Vaishnava Seva. Yes.
Prabhuji, while you were in US and when you got to know about this movement, what was the most attractive part that you got into?
Well, Prashadam. Then it became the Bhagavatam. And then it was sequential, then other things and other things. Visiting the Vrindavan. It's really easy to get attached to Vrindavan. Have you been to Vrindavan? It's really easy to get attached to Vrindavan. It's really easy to get attached to Prasadam. It's really easy to get attached to the Bhagavatam. But you're subjectively, what attracted me? In sequence, those are the sequences. And having some humble service to do for Prabhupada has been a profound satisfaction. Although I was, in career-wise doing something else, my satisfaction was just being kind of an obscure brahmachari, distributing Prabhupada's books because I knew he wanted it. I knew why he wanted it, and I knew that he wanted it. So being an instrument, I wasn't really good at it. There are many persons who are really good at it. I wasn't really good at it, but it was a lot of satisfaction doing that which I knew, without question, was pleasing to Prabhupada. Yes, last question. His voice is soft, so I'm going to repeat his question, in case you can't hear the question.
My question is related to the importance of initiation.
The importance of?
Initiation.
Immigration?
Initiation.
Initiation. You want to know the importance?
We hear about the Shiksha Guru and Diksha Guru.
Uh-huh.
So my question is like Prahlad Maharaj has had Narad.
Yes, he did.
Narad only Shiksha Guru or also Diksha Guru? And how important is that Diksha Guru?
I'll invite you to take a look at. I extracted a little section from Adi Leela Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, I think it's chapter 4, maybe it's chapter 3, where the topic that your question was Shiksha and Diksha Guru, which is the importance. Prabhupada writes specifically, there may be many Shiksha Gurus, there must be only one Diksha Guru, and then he speaks specifically about initiation, because with Shiksha there isn't initiation, it's just instruction. But receiving mantra is Diksha, mantra Diksha. So Prabhupada says it 3 times. Without initiation, one cannot progress adequately. So, 3 times. It's imperative, it's not optional. Now, one can certainly progress without initiation. I know devotees that have progressed nicely, but it's not sufficient. And for different reasons, Persons that are practicing for 30 years, they're still not initiated. And so I shared with them this little passage from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prabhupada is very firm. One can progress through Shiksha, and you read Prabhupada's books and people progress. But when it's done effectively, it leads to taking full shelter through, because there's 5. And one of them is service to the Vaishnavas or service to a sadhu. But then mantra, initiation into sacred mantra is very important. It may take some time, that's okay. But in Prabhupada's purport, it's imperative. Has to be qualification and so forth and so on, but it's imperative.
In relation to today's verses, Prahlad Maharaj, did he get anything from Narada?
That's a nice question. I'm not sure the answer. Did he give him mantra? I'm not sure the answer. I'll do some research and see if I can come up with an answer. Huh? Okay.
Related is like there are 12 Mahajanas, Prahlad.
Yeah.
Mahajana.
Yeah.
Likewise,
He should have a Diksha Guru by reason. And so that's your question. And I don't have an authoritative answer. But I'm sure there is one. I don't like to speak without, Shastra Praman, standing behind the words. So I don't know Shastra Praman in answer to your question. Logic says you must have. But where's the Shastra Praman to verify? I'll see what I can come up with. So, Van Bihari, I'm going to send you a document Diksha is imperative. It's from Chaitanya Charitamrita. And if I can come up with the answer to his question, I'll send it to you, and then you can circulate similarly. Very thoughtful question, thank you. Should we end? Where's our MC? Okay. So thank you all for coming, and it's probably time for, not only for me to stop, it's time for prasadam. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Shinga Bhagavan ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi.
Jai Sudanis Rompal Swami Maharaj ki Jai. So Maharaj has few more programs. If anybody wish, you can let me know. I'll provide you the information details, or you can ask Sundar Gaur Prabhu. So thank you very much. I request everybody, let us thank Maharaj by very loudly chanting.